Hello, this is Dave Lundahl. I'm the CEO for InsightsNow and one of the co-presenters today. Thank everybody for joining this next event here at Webinars Now. Topic today is really exciting: plant-based burgers, making your product competitive through clean label design. And I have with me today Webb Gerard, who's the Director of Technology at Culinix, which is a culinary product development firm, and that specializes in clean label. So, and I want to say thanks for the contributors, for Julie Quanti, Marina Chernikov, Mark Stevens, and Alan Kadesh, who contributed on some of the research that we'll present today. So, moving on here, I'd like to do some introductions. First, myself, I've been in the food industry for over 25 years now. Founded InsightsNow back in 2003, and so we're a company that really focuses on innovation, product development, brand positioning, planning, marketing and messaging. We work a lot in the area of clean label or clean living type of research, really focused on improving speed to and success in market. So with that said, Webb, can you please do a little introduction on yourself and perhaps Culinix?
My name is Webb Gerard. I'm the Director of Technology at Culinix. I have been doing product development in the food industry for over 17 years. I work for Culinix, a product development consultancy based out of Seattle. We specialize in clean label product development, everything from concept through to commercialization, and everything in between, working on all product categories.
Great. Thanks, Webb. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into the content for today. That is on the sidebar. You should have an area that says questions. And at the end of this webinar, which will be the content we're going to present is about half an hour. At the end of that, there'll be a question and answer period. So please, at any point in time, enter in some questions, submit it, and we'll use those to provide responses to in the Q&A. You can also send things privately or send us emails privately if you want to have a dialogue or any questions answered that you'd rather not voice publicly. So that said, let's get into the content today. The plant-based revolution is something that is really impacting the food industry and is expected to have some pretty significant growth here over this year, as we're seeing it moving from about 4 to 4.5 billion. So we're starting to gain traction. This is a global phenomena. Some recent research that was done earlier this year showed that purchase likelihood for plant-based and clean meat products is on the rise. We're about a third of U.S. consumers will say that they are very to extremely likely to buy some this year. In China and India, it's double that. So really exciting area. And the plant-based revolution, the milk replacement sort of area for plant-based products was the first to get into this. It's led. Meat now is become number 2. It's about a 10% growth rate right now. But you're seeing a lot of other categories also. We're experiencing sort of plant-based alternatives and a whole wide of new innovative products that are flooding the markets on a global basis. But the biggest changes here have been some sensory advances in meat replacement, especially in the burger category. And that's what we'll be focusing on today. Burger King launched their version of Impossible Burger, and we're able to, in some markets around the world, randomly put a meat-based Whopper or a plant-based Whopper and ask people to guess which one it was. And so the taste and the texture and the appearance of these meat replacement burgers are very hard for consumers to be able to detect the difference, which is an amazing advancement and is impacting this industry. And so you see kind of a new way to kind of look at the plant-based burger awards. Impossible Foods, Beyond Meat have really had an impact. You see how they're carving up the landscape of the food service industry, as well as now they're getting into some markets for retail. It's also really impacted a lot of the legal. Mississippi state in the U.S. Passed some laws that made it illegal for vegan and vegetarian and plant-based producers to be able to use words such as veggie burgers. This has prompted a lawsuit that is now prompting some regulatory changes that will allow vegetarian or vegan food producers to continue using these types of clear labels. And perhaps the biggest sort of impact that is emerging now is what we're seeing is that people are becoming aware that plant-based burgers, as an example, do have a potential positive environmental impact. And you see just one burger, some of the savings in terms of feed and water and land use and fossil fuel energy savings from that are fairly pretty major. And so people are realizing that eating lower on the sort of food and less plant-based, animal-based products does have a positive impact. So as a result, the meat substitutes market is expected to dramatically grow here in the next few years, about 6.4 billion. I think it'll exceed that. Health claims, health benefits, and sustainability are seen the underlying sort of drivers. So today, we're going to be focusing on how to win in the plant-based burger category. We're going to be exploring things like brand trust, claims. We're looking at ingredient statements. We're going to consider implicit associations and specifically taste. Is this a meat replacement product or not? We're going to be looking at some research today. So the first thing, I'm going to talk through some research design. Some data that we've collected here fairly recently. We'll show you some of the results, and then from there, Webb is going to be talking about sort of ingredients and the toolbox for assembling the ultimate plant-based burger, and then we'll get into some wrap-ups. So let's talk about research design, what we did. We focused on a group of segment of consumers that are forward-thinking. They're called consumer advocates of clean eating and living. We call them clean label enthusiasts. And this is a segment of about 30% of primary U.S. shoppers. They are very proactive in their health, and they always read ingredient labels. They get their functional benefits through plant-based and non-processed foods. They also take supplements, and they use the internet as a primary way to learn about these sort of functional ingredients. So targeting this group, we fielded a piece of research to a community of clean label enthusiasts that InsightsNow has. We had 201 people participate in this study, and I'd like to show you the results. We looked at 14 different brands of products that are plant-based burgers. We had one product that was a mix of plant-based and meat, just to see how that might impact things. And we asked people for these brands, do you trust it or do not trust it, through an implicit test. In addition, we looked at all the claims that were provided over these 14 different SKUs. And we did an implicit test to evaluate the influence of these claims on choice of products. Third, we looked at ingredients. There were 193 ingredients we found over all the products in these 14 SKUs in the category. And for each of these ingredients, we determined whether in a rapid fashion, whether people were okay or they would avoid that product based on the ingredient. Okay, let's look at some of the results. First of all, we found that some of the newcomers, such as Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods, which everybody is very interested in, which are these sort of new sort of kids on the block for meat replacement products, have fairly low awareness still and fairly low trial compared to some of the products such as Morningstar Farms, Amy's Kitchen, Boca Burger, and Garden Burger, which have been around for some time and are still leaders in the industry with regard to awareness. Now, when it comes to product choice, using the Max Diff Utility Index, which is a measure of rank choice, we find that Amy's All-American Veggie Burger scored the highest, along with the Great Organic Blend Burger, Dr. Prager's All-American Veggie Burger, and the Gardein Black Bean Burger. And down in the middle of the pack, you have the newcomers, the Beyond Burger and the Impossible Burger. And then further down the bottom, the Boca All-American Classic, along with Field Roast Field Burger and the Uncut Burger at the bottom. Further, unpacking the reasons for these differences in choice, we find there was a strong correlation between awareness and the amount of choice across these products. And you see this in Amy's All-American Veggie Burger, scored very high in awareness, along with Impossible and Beyond Burger. An outlier was the Morningstar Farm Grillers Prime, which is not getting a lift from awareness. We found also 3 different choice segments amongst the data set. And the first choice segment was more driven by those that preferred Impossible Burger, as well as Amy's All-American Veggie Burger. The second one was a segment that really preferred and chose Amy's All-American Veggie Burger as well, along with the Gardein Black Bean Burger and a few others. And the third choice segment is one that Beyond Burger fit in as well as the Great Organic Blend Burger and a few others like Dr. Prager's and the Light Life Plant-Based Burger. Now further, when you look at segment 1, you find that it appears to be very much brand and appearance driven based on the most important reasons for choice. Further, we found a strong correlation between brand trust and the ranked choice metric, with the exception of Impossible Burger, suggesting Impossible Burger is mainly appearance driven. Segments 2 and 3 appeared to be very much ingredient driven, having ingredient statements that were very few ingredients that I avoid or short ingredients lists. In addition, we found a very strong correlation between the ingredient clean label score and the ranked choice. You see Amy's All-American Veggie Burger and the Great Organic Blend Burger, as well as Dr. Prager's, scored pretty high in the average clean label ingredients, very clean products, and Impossible and Beyond much less. Choice 3, segment 3, seems to be much more claims driven, as you can see by this difference. And if you look at claims such as nutritive claims, excellent source of protein, good source of fiber, less fat, high protein, no cholesterol, reduced calorie, and reduced fat, tend to score higher, along with non-GMO project verified. Delve into the ingredients a little bit. Webb.
Yeah. Great. Look at the scores that the clean label enthusiasts put together against the ingredient statements of the plant-based burgers. So in this ingredient analysis, we want to look at why were the ingredients chosen in the formula design versus the clean label score. So We know that there are some ingredients that aren't exactly clean in these formulas, and why are they there? We'll explore the four main areas: the protein source, which is really the basis for the texture and driving the majority of the nutritional profile. The oils and fats that are used, the mouthfeel, how they carry flavor. Colors, really understanding that people want their plant-based patties to look like meat if they're going to transition out of a carnivore diet, and really need that sensory appeal. And then just a broad category of binders, those ingredients that hold everything together and really manage the moisture on things. So first up is the proteins, and we can see in this that pea protein overall is most widely accepted, from just a labeled pea protein to concentrates and also isolates. They're accepted up there, but also rice, potato, and mung bean, other beans are also looked at favorably, looking at this whole food ingredient that's been concentrated to make a protein texture. What's interesting to note at the back end of the acceptance list is the wheat and soy derived products, either because they're old hat and been on the marketplace for a while, or maybe because they're allergen driven, and the stuff at the top of the list quite isn't as allergen driven. What's also really interesting is the last accepted protein is the myco protein, which is really a fungus-based protein, and pretty clean overall. And it happened to be paired with the number one protein in there, the egg white, showing that there's a little bit of disconnect in how the ingredients were used in there. Then we look at our oils and fats, and predominantly on this list, they're all fats and oils that are fluid at refrigerated temperature. So you want to put these in here to help the lubricity of the mouthfeel, to have an eating effect in there, but overdoing it kind of oversaturates and makes the patties mushy or pasty, or they get absorbed more by the textured protein, so that you're carrying a lot more fat than you would anticipate or really want in there to get the effect that you want out of it. What's also really interesting is the coconut and cocoa butters are fats that can be solid at refrigerated temperature, and we've seen them used in these plant-based patties where they're ground up in small bits that act as marbling like you would see in a meat protein, so that when you go to sear or grill these plant-based burgers, the fat melts out and sizzles and helps caramelize and add flavor, drips onto the grill grates and gets those flare-ups that contribute flavor. So it's a really interesting use of that ingredient. We look at the colors, and really it's there to make your plant-based patties red. The proteins themselves come in a tan or a dull brown color, and it's just not as appetizing as you think it would be. So really predominantly we see here beet juices and powders and extracts used in there to make those patties red and have brightness to them. The problem with beet is that when you cook it, it starts to turn into a dull brown as it gets cooked up. Beet also can carry a lot of beet flavor with it, which you have to account for when you're building the patty. What's interesting on the top of the list here is this apple extract, which will color the patty by itself a golden brown color. Used with beet, it has that nice healthy color, but when you cook the patty out, some of the residual sugars in that apple extract help with the caramelization on the outside of the patty, really giving it a positive appearance. And at the very bottom of the list here, we have the soy hemoglobin, which is the genetically modified soy heme that is used in the Impossible Burger to make it bleed. So maybe that's, from an ingredient standpoint, not a very good ingredient to have in there based on the benefits it's actually giving you. And then finally, just looking at how everything is bound together. And I use binder as a broad category thing, but it's really moisture management and texture management, with the proteins adding the textured part of it, but that isn't the whole comprised patty, so you have to have something that holds it all together. What's interesting, as opposed to this, the protein part of it, we have wheat and soy here close to the top of the list as acceptable ingredients as a binder, less so of the how it was used in proteins. But some really interesting things. There's potato starch really drives the starch category in this. There's some potentially other starches that may be used, like tapioca cassava, which are trending in other applications and potentially could be viable options to clean up the label in other ways. And it's also really interesting to note the second to last ingredient is the methyl cellulose. Highly functional ingredient, very good at what it does, but not really clean label accepted. And it happens to be one of the primary functional ingredients in both the Impossible and the Beyond Burger. So looking at how to replace that particular ingredient would drive the cleanliness of those labels quite significantly.
Okay, so so let's really talk about how we sort of take this knowledge that we've discussed so far, and how do you put it together to design the ultimate plant-based burger? And some sort of key points that I'd go through, and Webb will follow with some more. First of all, we've seen, even amongst clean label enthusiasts, there's a lot of split in their preferences. And then you add to the fact that clean label enthusiasts are 20% of the US marketplace and a percentage of people on a global basis, and you realize that there is quite a bit of diversification today in terms of people's reactions and their preferences to these various different plant-based burgers. And some people are willing to trade off GMOs for meat replacement. And we see that even in the label design, as well as some of the claims, some of the very differences. And you see this in Beyond Beef versus Impossible, where you have that soy-based Lego Hume sort of ingredient that gives the bleed. And there's a lot of differences in how different people react to that alone. And we also see that brand does matter. Now, as this market is continuing to increase, we're seeing a lot more people getting into the marketplace. And so we're seeing this diversity as we track it over time will be very interesting to see. So designing the ultimate burger is not just for one group, but there's a lot of segmentation, a lot of different groups that you can target. Trial's still low for the meat replacement products, such as have been come out with the Beyond Beef burger as well and the Impossible burger. But we have yet to see, brand trust increase after trial for these products, basically because there's not enough trial yet to really be able to show that sort of impact. And that's something we're expecting to see, but we're just watching that really closely. Clean label enthusiasts are still exploring, these different products. So the awareness for these products is still low. So we'll see how this sort of trend sort of develops further. And so bottom line is there is a huge opportunity today for new products that'll fit the needs of people that are seeking things that are more healthy for them. I want to avoid things that they're concerned about in terms of various different types of ingredients, different degrees of clean or versus clean living sort of responses, as well as this whole new area about sustainability and how this factors into clean eating. Webb?
Yeah, so I think one of the key things is what's the approach there? Are you trying to make a plant-based burger or a meat replacement? The plant-based patties been there, your Boca and your Morningstar. I mean, they're tried and true, and they're good products, and that delivers a plant-based lifestyle. But then if you're looking to flex down into a meat replacement, flexitarian, those leaders still use highly functional ingredients, the methylcellulose and the soleohemoglobin. But is that the trade-off the consumer is willing to accept to get down into it? Trade on the cleanliness of the ingredient statement versus the deliverable of what they're getting. Do you really need your burger to bleed, or does it just need to taste good? And then, looking at what kind of clean ingredients could be used for the meat replacements. There's some ingredients that are trending in other categories. Again, the tapioca and cassava that could play a role in the plant-based protein to help move out of the potato dextrins or wheat starches and stuff like that, and really investigating some of these other ingredients that are being more and more widely available. And then how you get your color delivery system. The sensory matters a lot in this, so making it not a dull brown patty, something that has a little bit of life and vibrancy to it really matters, and the ingredients that are being used in that. But I think one of the other things that really needs to be considered is looking outside of the ingredients themselves and looking into processing technologies, rethinking how something's assembled, may be able to take out ingredients and rethinking the processes so that you build a product in a different way that may not have been, could really help design the cleanliness of things.
So next steps on this. So where do we go from here? So what we are doing as we continue to analyze this data is we're developing a prediction model. So as I said earlier, we use a choice-based system where we ask people to, it's called a max diff technique, where we get provided sets of different SKUs. We have people look at the brand, the claims, the ingredients, and select things that are most appealing and least appealing. And from that, we're able to get ranked choice. And further, we want to model to this various different behavioral KPIs, such as trial, brand trust, claims, the overall clean label score, the statement, other sort of metrics such as the simplicity of the statement, what are the worst ingredients that people may react to, as well as the smart ordering. So things that are higher versus ingredients that people may react negatively. Is it near the top in the ingredients list or at the bottom of the ingredients list? So these are the things that we're working towards, so that we will be developing here various different behavioral KPIs and scorecards that you can score different products to really understand then how to move the dial, how to become more competitive. And what this does is it leads into what we're calling sprinting, various different ways through a process we're calling praise. And this process is going to take these choice-based models and the behavioral KPIs from this category review, which we just did, and from that move into various co-creation. So you can actually build through the co-creation techniques and methodologies prototypes that can be tested, developed, and validated. And then we can move into the product design parts. So Webb, do you want to comment on this?
Yeah, with the product design, we can do very quick, rapid iterations of product and get rapid feedback from the consumers versus the traditional product development cycle where you take 6 to 12 months to develop the product, get it on the marketplace, and get another 6 to 12 months before you can get feedback. We're able to get those prototypes done quickly and feedback done quickly to help drive informed development.
And what this leads to is to be able to rapidly do product scale-ups and get products into market really quickly. So this is, where we see this is going. How do you utilize the kind of information as we presented today? I think it creates some opportunities, because there's getting to market today in this sort of rapidly developing and expanding sort of plant-based categories, I think is really important. So speed to market, we're seeing in the plant-based category, it is diversifying. There's a lot of new users that are coming into it, and the Beyond Meat and Impossible Burger products, which are meat replacement products, that means their products really taste like meat, as bringing in a lot of new users into the category. So addressing, the taste desires of consumers, addressing their health concerns, as well as the emerging area and the importance of sustainability. But on the other hand, plant-based products need not be meat replacement to be competitive. So we know that clean label is very important. We know that non-GMO and other claims are very important. And the brand is exceedingly important. So establishing your brand today, developing it forward through the products that you bring forward and the claims that you're making and how you position your brand is going to, in the end of the day, win in this category. So with that, we're kind of moving into the question and answer area today. So we have, as I mentioned earlier, there's the questions tab there on the side of your computer screen, and we would just really welcome everybody to type in any questions that you would like at this point. So I've got one question here, and is the alternative protein market's potential overhyped? I think it's a really valid question. You know, the Beyond Beef and the Impossible Burger, you know, their impact has been pretty dramatic. We're seeing their increase in market share. Even though trial is still fairly low, but there's a tremendous amount of buzz associated with this. So our perspective here is we believe that this market is growing rapidly. Consumers have been going from concerned about bad things that are in their foods to I want good things in my foods. And now we're seeing, in addition to that, a lot of interest in how do I eat things or eat products, consume things that are better for the environment. And I think this all sort of feeds into this trend, which I believe is going to continue to grow and grow even faster, perhaps, than some of the people are predicting. Any other questions? Webb, do you have any questions or thoughts you want to add?
No, I think you're right, and the plant-based movement isn't going to be a fad. I think this is something that's here to stay, and you see it more and more increase year over year with meatless Mondays and people eliminating meat out of their diet or reducing it, and ways to drive people in that direction. This just becomes more and more approachable. Great.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's. Oh, I got it. I do have a question here. All right. Which attributes would you say are the key drivers for plant-based burgers?